She kicked my door and screamed, "This is an HOA inspection." She stormed inside like she owned the place, opening drawers, taking pictures, and shouting about violations that didn't exist. Before she could do anything else, real officers appeared at the door. Her face went pale when she saw the federal seal in my briefcase. She realized she had made a huge mistake. She tried to lie, stammered about inspections, but every word only exposed her more. She wasn't just scared, she was trapped. And then I noticed the black SUV parked across the street. A man stepped out, walking straight toward my house. Karen's panic grew. She hadn't come alone. I triggered hidden cameras and alarms. Lights flashed, cameras moved, and suddenly the house became a fortress. The man froze outside, realizing he had walked into a trap. She kicked my door so hard it bounced off the wall, and before I could even stand up from the couch, Karen stormed inside yelling, "This is an HOA inspection. You can't stop me." Her voice echoed through the hallway like she owned the place. I didn't say a word at first. I just watched her, because I wanted to see how far she would go this time. She walked straight into my kitchen, opening drawers, checking cabinets, snapping pictures like she was gathering evidence for some private mission. The crazy part? My house wasn't even under the HOA. She knew that. Everyone knew that. But she kept shouting, "I have authority here." While her hands shook like she was scared of something she didn't want me to see, I noticed she kept glancing at the corner of my living room right where my leather briefcase sat. And that's when I realized she wasn't here for an inspection. She came looking for something she thought she could use against me. She opened another door without permission and yelled, "Aha! Violations everywhere!" Even though the room was empty. I stepped closer, calm, quiet, and that made her even more nervous. She didn't know who she had just walked in on. "Not yet." Then she turned around, pointed a finger right in my face, and said, "I'll have you removed from this property today." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because she had no idea she had just broken into the home of the one person she should never threaten. She was still shouting when I finally spoke. Just one line that made her freeze mid-sentence, "You really should have checked whose house this is before breaking in." Her mouth fell open. But before she could respond, there was a knock on the door. The kind of knock that changes everything. She spun toward the front door like she expected. Back up, maybe the fake security she loved to brag about. But the moment she opened it, her whole face dropped. Two uniformed officers stood there, not looking at her. Looking at me. One of them nodded respectfully and said, "Judge Carter, we came as fast as we could. Your alarm flagged a forced entry." Karen's jaw almost hit the floor. She didn't blink, didn't breathe, just stared at me like she had just walked into a lion's cage. I could feel her fear filling the room, and for the first time, she stepped back instead of forward. "Judge?" she whispered, shaking. But she still tried to act bold. "See, this is a misunderstanding. I was doing an HOA inspection." Her voice cracked so badly it sounded like she was choking on her own lie. One officer raised a brow. "Ma'am, this house is not under any HOA." She swallowed hard. "Well, it used to be. I think, maybe the paperwork, I didn't give her the chance to finish." I slowly opened my briefcase right in front of her, and the moment she saw the federal seal inside, her legs wobbled. She grabbed a chair to keep from falling. Her fake confidence melted off her face, and all that was left was guilt and panic squeezed together. The officers switched their attention to her, and their tone changed instantly. "Ma'am, you entered a private residence without permission," the second officer said. "That's breaking and entering." Karen tried one last desperate move. She pointed at me again, but this time her hand trembled uncontrollably. He threatened me. He tried to stop an inspection. I'm the victim here." I took one slow step toward her. "Karen, every inch of this house is recorded. You walked in on camera. You yelled on camera. You lied on camera." I could see her knees buckle because she knew I was right. The officers looked at me. "Judge, would you like to press charges?" I didn't answer immediately. I leaned closer to Karen and said quietly, "You still don't get it. You didn't just mess with a homeowner." Asterisk her eyes widened. Waiting. Asterisk, you messed with the federal judge overseeing the case against your AET president. Asterisk her entire world shattered in one breath. Karen's face turned white, like every drop of blood had just abandoned her. She stumbled back, knocking over a small table, but she didn't even bother to pick it up. The officers exchanged a quick look. They understood exactly what that line meant. Her little HOA kingdom wasn't just annoying anymore. It was under federal investigation, and she had just walked into the worst possible house at the worst possible time. Asterisk, suddenly, Karen wasn't loud. She wasn't bold. She wasn't barking orders. She was shaking. I didn't know, she whispered, her voice so thin it barely existed. If you had told me earlier, asterisk, I tilted my head, watching her panic unravel. Why would I explain myself to someone who breaks into homes for fun? Asterisk, she pressed a hand to her face like she wanted to disappear. I swear I was just trying to follow rules. The president told me you were hiding violations. He said to check your house before you found out about the... And then she stopped. Dead silent. She realized she had said too much. Asterisk, the officers stepped closer. Before he found out about what, ma'am? Asterisk, her lips trembled. She didn't answer. She couldn't. She knew if she spoke, she might bury the entire HOA board, including herself. She backed up until she hit the wall, eyes darting everywhere like the room was collapsing on her. I need to call him, she whispered. He told me to do this. He said it would protect us. Asterisk, one of the officers pulled out a small recorder. Ma'am, we need that statement clearly. Asterisk, Karen's breathing sped up. She shook her head, arms wrapped around herself. I didn't mean to... if he finds out I talked, I'm dead. Asterisk, I watched her carefully. That wasn't fear of getting arrested. That was fear of someone on her own side. Someone above her, and that's when it hit me. She hadn't come alone. Asterisk, I stepped toward the window. The slightest movement, and that's when I saw it. Asterisk, a black SUV parked across the street. Engine running. Someone sitting inside, watching the house like they were waiting for a signal. Asterisk, Karen saw my reaction and whispered, barely audible, "Please." Don't let him know I said anything. But it was already too late. The SUV door opened, a man stepped out, and he began walking straight toward my house. With purpose, I moved closer to the officers, keeping my voice calm, low, but full of authority. "Stay right here," I said. The man outside didn't know he was walking into a trap. Karen froze completely, staring at the window as if willing him to disappear. But he kept coming, each step deliberate, confident. Asterisk, by the time he reached the porch, I had already unlocked a hidden side door, leading straight into a small control room I rarely used. One flick of a switch and all exterior cameras activated, feeding directly to my laptop. I could see everything. His face, his posture, and most importantly the hand hovering near his jacket pocket. Asterisk, Karen panicked. He has a gun? She stammered. But I didn't flinch. The officers raised their eyebrows, sensing the tension but trusting me. I whispered, almost to myself, "Not today." Asterisk, the man reached the front door and tried to push it open. That's when I pressed a button and a loud alarm blasted through the house, startling him. Lights flashed, cameras swiveled, and suddenly the entire house looked alive like a fortress he didn't expect. He froze mid-step. Asterisk, I walked toward the front door slowly, every eye on me, and said in a firm voice, loud enough for him to hear, "Step back. You are on federal property, and you are under surveillance. Move another inch, and I call the SWAT detail waiting 2 blocks away." Asterisk, the man's eyes widened. He looked at Karen, then back at me, realizing instantly that she had led him into a trap. Karen tried to step forward, maybe to defend him, but I raised a hand. "Stay there, Karen. Every move you make is recorded. Every word, too." Asterisk, he took a hesitant step back. And then another. Within seconds, he turned and ran straight to his SUV, slamming the door, leaving Karen shaking in the doorway. I watched them drive off, then turned to Karen with a cold smile. Asterisk. You really should have thought this through, I said quietly. Asterisk. Her knees buckled. I didn't know it would be like this. Asterisk. I leaned closer. Rule number 1, Karen, never break into a judge's house. Asterisk. And in that moment I realized this was just the beginning. The HOA wasn't done, and she wasn't acting alone. But now they knew who they were dealing with. Karen sank onto the couch, her hands covering her face, but I could see her shaking through her fingers. The officer stayed nearby, calm, letting her unravel. I walked past her slowly, my voice quiet but cutting through the tension. You thought this was a game? You thought you could intimidate me? And bring your boss to my door. Asterisk. Her voice trembled. I didn't know you'd have all this. She gestured vaguely around the house, but I didn't answer. Instead, I opened a drawer and pulled out a small evidence folder, sliding it across the table toward her. Everything you've done, every fake notice, every threat, every trespass, it's all here, and it's all being filed with the court. Asterisk. Karen's eyes widened. You can do that? Asterisk. I leaned back, calm, measured. I don't just enforce the law, Karen, I live it. And right now, you just made it personal. Asterisk. She swallowed hard, looking like she was about to cry, but her pride wouldn't let her fall completely. Please, I can fix this. I'll call my boss. Asterisk. I cut her off. No calls? No deals. You brought them here. You'll face the consequences yourself. Every HOA violation you faked, every false report you filed, you're responsible.